Okay, so round 13 of the NRL season has concluded. Some really interesting results, and a couple of teams are in serious trouble in regards to their form. So the Dragons and the Knights were the first two teams to kick off the weekend on Friday night. The Dragons getting a really good 20 points to 6 win over the Knights. The Dragons coming off thereby, the Knights coming off the back of a really good win in the last round. And these are two sides that are exceptionally frustrating to watch week in, week out because they are so inconsistent. But it's a good win for the Dragons. They've got these performances in them. The Knights, I mean, this is how the last month's gone. Good win, bad defeat, good win, bad defeat. There is no consistency with the Knights. Adam O'Brien is a coach under a lot of pressure, considering what they did last week with a really strong win. To throw out a performance like that is really worrying. The Dragons, much the same as the Knights, they are criminally inconsistent. They can put in a performance like this and win really well, and in the following game they are equally as frustrating to watch. But the Dragons get a good win. The Knights, that is a severe defeat, and that's a worrying defeat considering that they showed a lot of promising signs last week. That is a massive step back, and I do think Adam O'Brien, even though the Knights board have said he will see out the season, I don't think he's going to be coached there much longer. There's a lot of pressure on the Knights to get a string of results together, considering that they won the first two matches of the season, then they go on a long losing streak, and now they've got this inconsistent form. The Titans Storm started off Saturday's action in biblical conditions. The Storm win 28 points to 16 up at the Gold Coast. The Titans, they're struggling. Let's be honest, they are struggling. They've got points in them, but they're struggling. The Storm, this was a scrappy win for the Storm. The conditions didn't help. There were some signs that the Storm aren't firing on all cylinders, but they get the result in a scrappy performance in torrential rain. The conditions were absolutely abysmal, and that's the sign of a good side winning when they're not playing well. We have to agree on that. The Storm can, when they're not playing well, still get results like this, but they have been a little bit inconsistent over the last few weeks. So they've had a few defeats in there, and their performances haven't set the league on fire. Even though they're the pre-season favourites, they are showing some weaknesses. The Titans and Des Hasler, again, the pressure mounts on the Gold Coast, especially on Des Hasler. This is his second full season in charge, and there's not much improvement in regards to the actual win percentage for the Titans. So, conditions aside, there were some flashes in there from the Titans, but they're still going to be a mediocre side. The Cowboys Tigers, 32 points to 28 to the Cowboys. Good tight game. The Cowboys, they are a little bit inconsistent, but they've got some good young players coming through, and they are getting the wins that in previous seasons were defeats for them. The Tigers, their form really has derailed since the Lockie Galvin saga started. They're really struggling to find some form. They've got points in this side. There is a definite improvement in this side than in the previous 3 or 4 seasons, but that's a tough defeat to take for the Tigers. The Cowboys, some concerns defensively for the Cowboys. That's a lot of points conceded. If they are to make a challenge for the top 4, they've got to tighten up that defence. But they are getting the wins in close games that in previous seasons they were losing. So there's some food for thought there. They've signed Labert, for example, to a contract extension. I think they've signed Purdy to a contract extension as well. So they are going with the youth as their future. The Tigers, though, I mean, as I say, the Lockie Galvin contract saga. Now he's no longer a Tigers player. There's some issues surrounding that, but their form hasn't recovered since all that blew up a couple of weeks ago. They need to find something to turn around their form. They are competitive. They've got points in them, but defensively recently as well, they've gone missing. The Sea Eagles over the Broncos, 34 points to 6. A good response to the Sea Eagles. They've had a bit of wobble in form lately. Putting over 30 points on the Broncos is a statement win without Jake and Tom Trbojevic in the side. The Broncos, their season's fast unravelling. They're falling apart. We've seen this before. It's been a trend with the Broncos since, I'm going to say, 2018, 2019. This is a long-term decline with the Broncos. So since 2019, the 2019 season, they've made the finals twice in 6 years. And with the way it's going, they are nosediving down the NRL ladder. This is really concerning at this point. Ezra Mam roundly booed by fans again. That didn't help. Didn't have a great performance. The team were poor. They were absolutely shocking against the Sea Eagles. The Sea Eagles themselves have been a bit inconsistent lately. They've got some injuries. Impacted by Origin, but that was a statement performance by the Sea Eagles. But worrying signs for the Broncos. Real worrying signs for the Broncos, and I don't know what Michael Maguire does from here. I don't think he's a bad coach. I think he's a very good coach, but there's clearly issues within that dressing room, within the culture and the makeup of the team, because their form the last 6-7 weeks has been atrocious, absolutely atrocious. With their strong start to the season, they've fallen off a cliff quite significantly, and we're getting repeats of 2020, 2021, 2022, 2024. We're seeing a repeating pattern here. It doesn't matter who the coach is, Walters, Seibold, Maguire, the same issues are arising with this side. And Maguire, I think, out of those coaches is the best of the three. He's won a premiership. So there's some severe concerns here for the Broncos. The Bunnies Warriors, tight game, went down to the wire. The Warriors winning 36 points to 30. And this is a different Warriors side this year over last year or 2020, 2022, for example. These tight games that last year or 3 years ago they were losing, they're winning now, and they're winning really well away from home. Their road form is fantastic. Their home form is pretty good as well, but that's a good response to a defeat to the Raiders, an ill-tempered match last week in terrible conditions. Good response. The Bunnies, their early season form seems to have tapered off. While they are getting players back from injury, and they are, still around the top 8, I do think this is still a rebuilding season for the Bunnies. Close game, an entertaining game. It was fun to see both sides really going at it. Defence was not a top priority, but both the sides attacking well, and Johnson on the wing. I mean, he's trying to go for that try-scoring record, and I do think he will get that try-scoring record as the greatest all-time try-scoring in the NRL. But the Warriors, though, this is the sign of a good side. They can win these tight games. Defensively, they need to tighten up a little bit. They've got one of the better defences in the league. They were obviously exposed today, but in attack, their attack has been struggling in regards to getting points. They're winning games, tight games, but getting points. To score 36 points, I think, is a boost for their attacking structures and systems. They are a little bit lean in attack. They're one of the more meek attacking sides, so that is a good attacking response from the Warriors, and a very fun game to watch. The Panthers Eels, this was a must-win game for both sides. The Panthers winning 18 points to 10. Real fun game, real entertaining game, and this was a response from the Panthers considering their meek defeat to the Knights last week. Getting their Origin players back, I mean, that was a big boost. They've got a lot of confidence coming out of Origin, the New South Wales players. Cleary had a masterclass. In fact, Dylan Edwards had a masterclass. The Eels, though, are showing a lot of fight this season, in a season that started disastrously. They're showing some fight. They're showing some steel and some grit, and they're getting stuck in. But the Panthers, that was a key win, gets them off the bottom of the ladder. There's some other teams with worse form than them in the last month and a half. So the Panthers are, responding to that real tough start to the season from round 2 onwards. They are showing some fight. This is a team in transition. Do they make the top 8? Well, they're only 3 points outside the top 8. So as I say, 1 or 2 wins in the bottom half of the table completely changes the dynamic of things. If the Panthers can get some a boost out of this and get some momentum, the Origin period is going to be a tricky period for them with the amount of players they lose to Origin. But if they can get some momentum clicking and get some of these young players some confidence, a couple of wins completely changes the dynamic in the bottom half of the table. Same with the Eels. If the Eels can get on a bit of a grind and a bit of momentum, it does completely change the dynamic at the bottom end of the NRL ladder. But that's a key win for the Panthers, but a really good performance from the Eels in defeat. They are showing some positive signs for the future going forward, and Jason Riles, I think, is starting the turnaround with this side. They have got players missing, they've got a team in transition, a lot of young players, but some of these young players are really stepping up in difficult circumstances. So that was a fun game to watch, regardless of where the Eels and the Panthers sit on the ladder in any season. That's a fun match-up. These are two sides that don't like each other in Western Sydney, and that's a good rivalry, and it's a good win for the Panthers considering their struggles this season as well. And the final game, the Roosters-Raiders. The Raiders like doing this to me. I don't like the stress that my team, the Raiders, give, but they've won 26 points to 24. Again, another fun game. There was some controversy in this game at the end of the first half with the disallowed try, and then the Roosters go down the other end. Was it a knock-on in the build-up to their second try? But my God, this was a fun game. I mean, as a Raiders fan, I wasn't expecting much this season. I was expecting a similar season to some other sides that are in a rebuild. It's a very young side. This young side has no fear. They are blessed with pace out wide. They've got a young, mobile, aggressive pack, and Ricky Stewart. I had some concerns when he had that contract extension. I think it maybe was time for a fresh voice in the dressing room and in the coaching setup. But actually, that looks like an inspired contract move. They're fun to watch. And this Roosters side, I mean, they're a side that's going through transition as well. These were two sides going at it. Fun game to watch. Very engrossing game from minute 1 to minute 80. The game was in the balance right up until the end, which is fantastic. It's what you want to see. I think both sides will be a little bit disappointed defensively with some of the line breaks and tries conceded, but it was a fun game, and that's an important win for the Raiders as well. Keeps that momentum going, considering they won against the Warriors in a tight game, they win against the Roosters in a tight game, and they're keeping up the pressure at the top on the Bulldogs, who had a bye this week. So the Bulldogs, Dolphins and Sharks had byes this week in the Origin period. It's going to be interesting how they continue to work the bye rounds going forward, especially with the Bears rejoining in a couple of seasons and the league expanding to 18 teams, soon to be 19 teams with PNG joining as well in years to come. The odd-numbered league just doesn't work because there's a team every week having a bye round, and then we get to the Origin period, and then it gets a little bit weird how they rotate the byes for all the sides during this 6-week block. But the Bulldogs are still top of the ladder because of that bye. The Dolphins get a bye and the Sharks get a bye. I think the Dolphins and Sharks need those bye rounds as well. I think all three teams that had a bye sort of needed it this week. But it's been a fun season so far. Everyone's beating everyone. I mean, look at some of those results. Only a couple of blowout scores. The Broncos are in deep trouble. The Knights are in deep trouble. I think that's clear for all to see. I think the Broncos are in more trouble than the Knights. We shall see what happens with Michael Maguire and what changes he can make to this side. They weren't overly impacted by Origin this year. So only losing a couple of players to Origin this year. So they can't use Origin as an excuse for that poor performance, but their form has dropped off a cliff in the last 6-7 weeks or so. It's very concerning. It's similar to last year. It's similar to 2022. It's similar to 2021 and 2020, where strong start to the season and then they fall apart. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Broncos do, but they are in free fall. The Knights are in free fall as well. Even they're just inconsistent. They put up a good performance and then they struggle. So there's a few sides that are really struggling right now. It's very competitive at the top and at the bottom. It's a season where everyone can beat everyone. It's a very unpredictable season. The Storm misfiring a little bit, still getting wins. The Raiders, young, exciting team, defying logic a little bit with the strength of squad they have, but they've got no fear. The Warriors, showing that last year was a bit of a blip with the injuries they had. This is sort of like their 2023 form. Their away form is scary, and their home form is scary as well. And then you've got teams like the Cowboys that are what I would class as sleepers. And you've got the Bulldogs, whose form so far this season has been fantastic. Will the Lockie Galvin introduction to the squad be a hindrance or a help to them? Because it's still an ongoing saga with Lockie Galvin, and there could be legal challenges because he hasn't formally been released by the Tigers. So we'll see how his introduction to the Bulldogs squad impacts them and their good start to the season. Fantastic start to the season for the Bulldogs. No one expected the Bulldogs to be top. They were expected to be potentially a top 8 side, but not this good. More was expected from the Dolphins and the Sharks. They're a little bit inconsistent. They've had some good form and they've just had a bit of a correction. They've got some injuries, so it's an interesting one. It's been a fantastic season. Anyone can beat anyone, as I say. But for me, for now, thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comment section below, and I will have some more content for you all very, very soon.